And we are rolling. Hey guys, how's it going? It's your buddy Jake Dominguez back with another movie review. Now, this is a review that I've gotten quite a few requests for, and I haven't had time to review it. I'm closing my closet. Let me close this. That's better. And I saw this movie a week or so ago, wanted time to kind of reflect on it before I recorded my review, so sorry this is kind of late. That just seems to be the way that things are going with my reviews lately, and I'm sorry about that. But here it is, my review of A Wrinkle in Time. This is one of the movies I was most excited to see this year because of its director, Ava DuVernay. Now, if you don't recognize that name, she has directed some of my favorite movies over the last few years. She directed a movie that I love called Selma, based on the life of Martin Luther King Jr. and his work to help the voting rights in Selma during that time. It is an outstanding movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check out Selma. And she also directed one of my favorite documentaries that came out last year. Was it 2016 or 17? What year did that come out? I think it was last year. But anyway, no, it was 2016. Anyway, okay, whatever. Whenever year came out, it's outstanding. It's called 13th. It's on Netflix right now. Extraordinarily powerful, great documentary. She has another film out on Netflix called Middle of Nowhere, I think it's called, that's very good. She is a great filmmaker. She's a big inspiration to me, and I know tons of people. And this is based on the classic book, A Wrinkle in Time, which I never read, so I never read that in school. I don't know anything about it. I can't base my review of this movie based on what I know of the book, because I never read it. But basically, this tells the story of a little girl whose father, who is a scientist, goes missing. They have no idea where he went. And these three magical figures were like, not witches, but they're like magical. Basically, I don't know what to call them, but these magical, powerful beings called Mrs. Witch, Mrs. Whatsit, and Mrs. Who, I think I got that right, who are played by Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, and Mindy Kaling. They come to help this little girl, her little brother, and her friend try to find her father. And they take her all throughout time and space and go through these magical worlds to find him. That is basically the plot of this film. This is an interesting movie. A lot of people were looking forward to this film, myself included, because, I love Disney, first of all. And more importantly, I love this director. So I was interested to see what she would do with a movie like this, which is a huge, expensive, big-budget film. This movie has gotten a little bit of criticism. It's gotten pretty negative reviews from critics. And audiences, I don't know as much. I know people who really liked it. I know people who didn't really like it. It's definitely a movie more for children, obviously, than adults like me, and I don't know, guys. It's interesting. I have a lot of different feelings about A Wrinkle in Time. Have you ever seen a movie that you really, really wanted to love, even though you don't really love it? That's how I feel about this movie. This movie has a lot going on in it. There's stuff in this movie that I think is great. There's stuff in this movie that I think really works. There are people really hating on this film, and I don't think it deserves quite the amount of hate that it's gotten. It definitely has stuff in it that I think is really good, and that makes it entertaining, that makes it great. Unfortunately, it also has stuff that doesn't really work. A Wrinkle in Time is a magical, entertaining movie that the family can watch and enjoy. I think there will be kids and people who will really enjoy it. And from what I can gather, there has been people who really enjoyed it. But it's also a mess. This is a very messy movie. The second act is really all over the place. We have flashbacks. We have going to different places. And unfortunately, it doesn't always feel very focused. And it does feel like kind of a mess, which is really disappointing. And on one hand, I get that. It's a magical fantasy movie where we go all sorts of different places to do magical stuff. If you look at maybe even other Disney films in the past, like, say, Alice in Wonderland, which is based on Lewis Carroll's book. If you look at the animated movie, there really isn't much of a plot other than Alice is in Wonderland and she wants to get out of Wonderland. It's more of an excuse for her to go to different places of Wonderland and look at the different magical, fantastical creatures that she finds. It's like that in the book, and the Disney animated movies like that too. This film, though, has more of a plot. It has more of a story. What happened to her father? The main character, the girl, has different things that she needs to get over and learn about herself and that sort of thing. And so the whole kind of way of going to different fantasy places and different fantasy characters and all that doesn't work as well because there is a main plot, a main story, and it just doesn't really work. Another film that's similar, another book maybe, is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Once the main plot of that movie is found, which is Charlie getting the golden ticket, the main plot is them just going around the chocolate factory and seeing all the weird magical things. And that's basically the plot, but it kind of works because of that. This, I feel, tries to do the same thing, but it just feels like a mess. Because it's like, okay, what is this? We're trying to do too much. This movie is overfilled and overflowed with so many different things that it just feels a little discombobulated. And I don't know if the book's like that, I don't know. But it makes this movie a little frustrating because you're like, okay, focus on the stuff that works as opposed to this other stuff that doesn't really work. There are things in this movie that is great and things that aren't great. For instance, the special effects. There are some incredible special effects in this movie. There's also some special effects that don't really work. There's a scene where they all go to meet Zach Galifianakis, who plays this crazy psychic kind of character, I guess, or something like that. And it's a fun scene, but when you watch this scene, it looks green screeny. You can tell that it's just CGI and it isn't very convincing. There's moments in this movie that are very magical. There absolutely is magical parts in this movie, but there's also parts that feel kind of fakey. There's a really cool scene where they go flying. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And it's really magical and fun, and I like that scene, but they're on this CGI creature, which you've seen in the trailers, that doesn't look that convincing. Again, it kind of goes back to the special effects, but you just look at it and it's like, I know that's CGI, the face and all. Like, I didn't completely buy it. So it feels magical, but when they show the CGI face on this CGI creature, it just isn't that convincing, and it kind of took me out of it. There's moments in this movie that have genuine emotion, where I felt that drama, and I felt for these characters, and I felt that emotion. It's actually a really strong part of the movie, one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much. There's also parts, though, that feel a little too schmaltzy, which, if you're in the mindset of a child or a kid, you're not going to mind as much. I feel that's appropriate for a movie like A Wrinkle in Time, but it is still schmaltzy, and it feels a little too cheesy sometimes, which I think the filmmakers were probably going for, but if you're not in that mindset or ready to accept it, or I don't know, it just didn't 100% work for me. The music is great, the soundtrack is great, it is beautiful. There also are some pop songs in the movie that are great songs in themselves, and they work fine, but there are times where it's like, oh, there's a pop song going on in the background right now, and it feels a little out of place. I don't know, maybe that's a little nitpicky, but that even did completely 100% work for me. Most of the acting is great, and I would say one of the best parts of this movie is the main character, this little girl, who's played by Storm Reid. She hasn't acted too much before. She's been in a few other films, but she does a pretty great job in this film. I thought she really sold it as the main character. The three magical beings are really good. Reese Witherspoon, you can tell, is probably having the most fun with it. She's a little over the top, but it kind of works. She's a lot of fun, and I liked her character. Mindy Kaling, is it Kaling or Calling? I think it's Kaling, who I love in one of my favorite shows of all time, The Office. She's done lots of other things, but she's really great. She's really funny. She's good in this, but I didn't love everything they did with her character. She plays this character where every single line she does is a quote. She quotes Buddha and Shakespeare. There's one scene where she quotes a certain hip-hop group, which is actually pretty funny. I liked that. But it's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like, really? Every line she does is a quote? Again, it's kind of cheesy, a little preachy. It's like, it didn't 100% work. I see what they're going for, didn't 100% work. That's a big thing in this movie. Oprah Winfrey is really great in this film. She plays herself, kind of. Think about it. She basically plays the leader of the witches. Again, I don't think they call them witches, but that's kind of what I thought of as they have magic and stuff. Do they call them witches? I don't think they do. I'm going to get back to that in a bit. Some of the magic in this movie is confusing. But Oprah Winfrey plays the leader of this group, and she's incredibly wise and has all these great speeches, and she's very spiritually minded. She kind of plays Oprah Winfrey, so it's kind of perfect casting, and she does a great job at doing that. Chris Pine, who's one of my favorite actors, is in the movie playing the girl's father. He's great at what screen time he has. Andre Holland is a small part in this movie. He's a great actor. Michael Peña is in this. Great cast. Some of the acting, most of it is great. Some of the child performances, besides Storm Reid, are a little wonky. I gotta be honest. It didn't always 100% work. This movie has a great message about love and positivity, which I think is great. Even if it does come across as sort of preachy, I do think there are great messages in this for families and for children, which is really good. But again, it also comes across as kind of preachy and schmaltzy. Again, there's so many things in this movie that are like, okay, this part you did good, this part not so much. And that's the main thing I keep on going back and forth with this movie. There's great stuff here, there's really magical stuff here, but it's kind of a mess, and all of it doesn't completely gel and together. I hate to say that because I was disappointed overall. There's stuff in this movie that works really well, and there's stuff that holds it back, and really holds it back. And that is a shame because I do think, and again, from what I can tell, people will really like this movie. One thing I do love about A Wrinkle in Time, again, back to Storm Reid, and what a great job she plays with her main character. I'm forgetting the main character's name, but I really liked that they have a little African-American girl as the main character. How often does that happen? Barely ever. And she does a great job. One thing that I loved in this movie is that her character, one little thing, is that she's really embarrassed by her hair. She doesn't like it. That's kind of based on the book. From what I can tell, I guess there's a thing in the book where the main character girl doesn't like her hair or something like that. But in this, they do really good, where she's basing how she views her hair and how she views herself based on society's idea of what women are supposed to look like and what girls are supposed to look like. And they play into that with her and her race in a really good way and based on modern American beauty standards. That is pretty awesome. I think that's really unique, and that's a good way of using something from the book, which again, to my knowledge, that's from the book, and putting it through this main character and kind of her viewpoint from society and that sort of thing. I love that. She's kind of just a lonely girl. She's not an extraordinary superhero or anything like that. She's a normal girl, and I liked that, and I liked how they used that, and I love that she's a person of color. That's great. But man, there's stuff in this movie that is so great, and there's stuff that doesn't work. And that's disappointing. Overall, A Wrinkle in Time is kind of a mixed bag. I love parts of this movie. There's stuff in this film that doesn't always 100% gel together. And I hate to say that. I do think that if you love fantasy films, you'll enjoy this movie. And if you really want to see it, I would say go see it. It's worth checking out. I think families will enjoy it overall, but it's kind of a mixed bag overall. I'm going to give A Wrinkle in Time a C+. Kind of a mixed bag. I wish it was a little better, but the parts that I enjoyed, I'm glad I saw. I'm glad I saw the movie overall, and the things that work definitely work among the things that don't work. Another thing I probably should mention, I'm kind of confused by the third act of this movie. Some of the magical stuff that happened, I'm like, I don't think I completely got that. And I don't know if that's me or the film. I don't know. I do want to see this movie again, and we'll see if my opinion changes over time. But that's what I think for now. I'm really excited to see what Ava DuVernay does next. I'm definitely going to check out whatever she does. Guys, that is my review of A Wrinkle in Time. What did you think of this movie? Did you like it more than I did? Did you not like it as much as I did? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching this video at all. As always, you guys are awesome. And never, ever, ever forget, I'm your friend. I'm always going to be there for you. Thank you so much for being my friends. You guys are the best, and I will see you next time.